This fall camp for the Auburn Tigers, it's interesting. It's exciting. But there's a lot we're not talking about.
Well, Zach, I actually just finished crushing some chicken farm, and I am freaking ready to rock and roll.
You are Locked On Auburn, your daily podcast on the Auburn Tigers. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Yes, welcome on into Locked On Auburn, your daily Auburn Tigers podcast. I'm your host, Zac Blackerby, and thank you so much for making Locked On Auburn your first listen every single day. And happy Charlie Tuesday to all who celebrate as Auburn message board legend Charlie 5 joins the show as he does every single Tuesday. Charlie 5.
Zach, it's not raining that hard outside. Get out of the tornado shelter. You're going to be okay.
So broadcasting from the bunker of an undisclosed location.
Yeah.
I've been told that my Camden Brown takes aren't dramatic enough. And there's a section of the Auburn fan base that's upset with me. But look, Camden Brown's ascension is exciting. Rhym's ascension is exciting. There's a lot of fun things to talk about. Coy Moore is a guy that I'm very, very high on. But for Auburn to be great this season, Charlie 5, I still think it's important to gain perspective and to refocus, recalibrate on who needs to perform to the level that they're capable of for Auburn to get to that 9-win mark, possibly even better than that. If Auburn is going to be great this season, it's got to be about these guys that for some reason they're boring to talk about at this point because they're already proven and we already know what they are. We always get excited about the transfers that come in. And look, obviously quarterback play is important. Outside of quarterback play, like guys like Colby Wooden's the best player on this football team. I firmly believe that. If you want to argue Tank versus Colby, I'm fine with that. But Colby Wooden, and we're talking about this defensive line and Derek Hall and Eku Leota and, maybe Marcus Bragg is going to be better than we thought he was going to be, and Dylan Brooks and Jason Jones. All of these guys are very, very good. But they were able to be better, Charlie 5, because Colby Wooden is next to them.
I've never really understood this phenomenon, and I think I get caught up in it too. It's we have so many segments about breakout player. We have lists. Who's your top 5 breakout players? But it's like we got Colby Wooden's going to be which should be the highest draft pick that we have. Like we need to be pumping him up. Tank Bigsby, the guy who could have been poached 3 times, in the offseason he's loved Auburn. He stayed Auburn and he's possibly going to have a chance to have a breakout season. Like all these guys that are proven players, but for whatever reason, we want to try to figure out who's next in line. It's crazy. And I fall victim to it all the time as well.
Yeah. And
real quick, our success depends 1,000 times more on guys like Shedrick Jackson and Tank Bigsby and Colby Wooden having success than like a JD Rhym or the third string defensive tackle freshman, whoever we want to say. Like those guys are the guys that we really need to be pumping up and talking about, in my opinion.
No, I think you're entirely correct. Because Jeffrey Mbott, he's able to have the opportunity to have a breakout season because he'll be next to Colby Wooden potentially in some pass rushing situations or whatever it may be. And so it's guys like Colby, it's guys like Tank. We talked about, all right, Killian Zaire and Austin Troxell, they seem to be the clear favorites of the tackle spots. They're going to be able to get the benefit of the doubt and help from guys like Tank Bigsby. And
totally. I
mean, that's just part of, and I'm comfortable lumping Jarquez Hunter in that too, just because I think he's such a good running back. I think he's better than a lot of people even give him credit for, and he's given a lot of credit. But another one that is extremely underrated, Samuel Shenker had the best season ever for an Auburn
target we have
ever. And there's a very real chance that he leads the team in targets this year. I don't know if that's the best thing, but I think there's a very real chance of that. And just
number in the 20s now. Like he's faster,
doubled in speed.
Automatically. I agree with you.
Doubled in speed. Fun fact, haven't thrown this out there yet, but we will be having Samuel Shenker on every single week this season. He will be our athlete. We had Chandler Wooten on last year. It will be John Samuel Shenker this year. So fun stuff there. But Jaylin Simpson, I think, is another guy. We're talking about DJ James coming in. We're talking about JD Rhym. But like Jaylin Simpson has been a good corner. He had a good opportunity last year, but he was overshadowed, and rightfully so, by Roger McCreary. And all of a sudden, Jaylin Simpson, Nehemiah Pritchett, they are in a great spot to have an outstanding season because they've got many years of work there. And so I just don't fully get it. Donovan Kaufman's another one, just these guys that these coaches are excited to talk about. And look, I'm all for the shiny new thing here, but I do think proper perspective is needed. If Auburn's going 9-3, like a lot of you in the comment section, some of you in the Locked On Auburn Discord, a lot of folks that are very pro Auburn, you call it booging when people are booging too hard.
It's fun.
That part of the fan base is extremely optimistic going into the season. You can be excited about Camden Brown. I think it's great. I think Camden Brown's going to have a really good career. I don't know if this year is it, but I think he's going to have a very good career at Auburn. But you need the staples. You need the guys that chose to come back to have a really, really good season. And I cannot stress that enough.
Oh, I completely agree. It's a human nature thing. I don't think it's necessarily a Auburn thing only. It's like the guy on the bench is always better. We take the guys that are there for granted. I mean, we could have lost. I mean, you got to think in the age of the portal and the age of NIL, we could have lost several dudes.
Can you imagine? Can you imagine though? And it's a perspective thing, and I get it. But if Colby Wooden would have transferred here, can you imagine the energy around him? It's like we got him back. I didn't think he'd be playing this year. If you would have told me 365 days ago that Colby Wooden would be here, especially after the season he had last year, there's no way in the world. I'd be like, no, he's going to be in mini camp right now.
Let me ask you this. If you take Derek Hall and Colby Wooden off this defensive line, do you feel as excited about the other guys? No, you don't, because you're factoring in their success based off of being next to these other guys. Like
right.
that's how they're going to benefit and learning from these guys. I mean, yeah, you take those two guys off the defensive line, just take one of those guys off the defensive line. You're like, holy cow. And I would say, I really think Colby Wooden more so than Derek Hall. You take Colby Wooden off.
Agreed.
And man, like you're I feel like the conversation, instead of just like who's going to be able to remote place that production, or who's going to be able to be the next Colby Wooden, instead of like all these breakout, stat leader that didn't play last year type scenarios.
Right. So coming up, Charlie 5 has a confession. He has a confession to make, and he wants to make it with all of us in the Locked On Auburn family. So be sure to stick around and hear what he has to say. But I got to tell you about our friends at LinkedIn. As you gear up for the fall, you need the right people on your team to help small businesses fire on all cylinders. LinkedIn Jobs is here to make it easier to find the people you want to talk to faster and for free. You can create a free job post in minutes on LinkedIn Jobs to help reach your network and beyond to the world's largest professional network of over 810 million people. Then add your job and the purple hashtag hiring frame to your LinkedIn profile to spread the word that you're hiring so your network can help you find the best candidates. LinkedIn Jobs helps you find the candidates you want to talk to faster. Did you know that every week, nearly 40 million job seekers visit LinkedIn? Post your job for free at LinkedIn.com/LockedOnCollege. That's LinkedIn.com/LockedOnCollege to post your job for free. Terms and conditions apply. Charlie 5, share, please share your confession to the world. I think it'll be healthy.
Sure. So Big Cat Weekend.
Mm-hmm.
I made a pact with myself that I was not going to get caught up into recruiting this year, because I felt like so much hinged on the season, and like bad results, good results, it didn't matter. But I bugged way too hard over all the news, all the updates, all the stuff that talked with NIL, all the different information we were getting, predictions, everything. I bugged way too hard, and I let myself get disappointed, at least on the front end, disappointed. We did get Ashley Williams, which was awesome.
Right.
And then, Connor Liu, ends up going to Miami, the Bo Hughley debacle, J.C. Hart, like maybe he ends up committing sometime in the future. But it's like, I think what we have to realize, I think sometimes we forget how serious what happened in February actually is and how big of an impact that is on the recruiting trail. Because right or wrong, I heard this analogy. If a kid is sitting in a living room with Brian Harston and then name two other, like Jimbo Fisher, Nick Saban, Kirby Smart, and asked if you're going to be my coach next year, like, which coach has the least amount of ground to stand on by no fault of theirs, because they may have been doing all the right things because of what February happened. It's Auburn. So anytime we get it seems like it's a repeating record. We get a kid fired up. We think he's about to commit, and he gets one phone call and is like, what are you doing? Do you realize, like, what just happened in February? Like this, that's kind of what we're battling here. And honestly, it's remarkable. It is remarkable the progress that that this staff has had. And I think a lot of it relies on how things perform. Like even the commits we have, the commits we don't have, the commits we may get in the future, a lot of it relies on how this season plays out. So I told myself, like in February, don't even watch recruiting. Okay. Don't even watch recruiting. It does not matter. He's going to put a product on the field. He's going to go win games. And until that happens, like all this other stuff is just sort of, noise. Don't get too excited. And I booged real hard. I broke my own rule.
Right.
And I'm just ready for this. I'm ready for the season now. I'm ready for football to start. I'm ready for Brian Harston to go on a mission and make an impact and make a statement. And then you'll probably start to see a little bit more, those guys that get close, pull the trigger.
Right. I do think, like, if there was a class for this to happen to, and obviously you hate it because the state of Alabama is absolutely loaded, but
so loaded.
Auburn, I think it's in the best interest of Auburn for Brian Harston to continue to survive. Like, I don't think he's suddenly going to be like not off the hot seat if he goes 7-5 or 8-4 this year in the 2023 season. And like the 2023 season, that situation, that like future roster outlook, it's really scary. It's very, very scary. I mean, like, it's like the whole offensive line room is going to leave. Most of the defensive line room is going to leave. And so true freshmen don't really help you with that. And so a lot of your scholarships are going to need to be transfer players and grad transfers and things like that. So the time
aren't even out there yet.
Not even out there yet. And then at that point, if he does go 7-5, 8-4, 9-3, whatever it may be, if he has a successful season, then you can go out and get those guys. And then maybe the backing is there from an NIL standpoint for you to be more competitive and kind of do what South Carolina did or what Ole Miss did. And let's see if that even works. I think it will. But there's just going to be a lot of holes to fill. And like who's going to be Auburn's who are Auburn's tackles in 2023? Are they on the roster right now? Would you bet that they're on the roster right now or they're not?
I would hope they're not. I mean, no offense to any of the other guys. They're just really young. They're just really young. And I've said from the beginning, when we missed out on a Bo Hughley or miss out on a Connor Lew, like Connor Lew and Bo Hughley were not the answer for 2023.
Correct.
The answer for 2023 was always, especially on the offensive line, going to be in the portal. And regardless of how good you view those guys are, it is a little bit hard to sell 6-year returning starters. Hey, come to a portal guy. Hey, come in and battle against, 6th-year super seniors. We got 4 of them. Come jump in the mix. I mean, next year you literally lose all those guys on the offensive line and on the defensive line. So you do have. It's
That's
a little
why
bit.
I was like, I wanted them to go get like redshirt sophomores that were in the portal that hadn't really played, but maybe they were like former 3-stars or something like that. And then they could be getting reps right now, but they didn't get anybody. So that's kind of,
but that's tough.
Kind of
it's a tough thing to sell because guys don't want to leave the bench to come sit on the bench. They want to leave to play. The portal are guys looking to better their situation.
Yeah, no, I
think Auburn was a tough sell a little bit last year. So Yeah, the answer to 2023 was never going to be this freshman, the 2023 freshman class. It was never going to be the answer. So
there's a few exceptions to the rule, right? Like Aquay Russaw changes the game, right? Like there are some guys that I think that are day one starters, but Ashley Williams could be. I wouldn't be shocked if Ashley Williams was relevant in the rotation.
Sure, he could be a role player. He could be a role player and a factor,
something like that. But you're right. You're absolutely right. And so,
don't get too high.
You need to win them. Like, I mean, Auburn's still, I say it all the time, Auburn's still fighting that perception battle more so than any other school in the SEC. And so when you lose a Connor Lew that, it sounded like Georgia wasn't ready to take him, and then Miami has guards that are ranked higher than him already, but he wanted to go for NIL purposes. It's like, well, what are we doing here?
We say that, like, maybe we say it's NIL purposes. Like, I mean, I know NIL, I'm sure, played a factor, but like, still, at the end of the day, like, Connor, if Mario if anybody with a half good pitch just says, Mario just says, hey, I'll match NIL, and hey, I'm going to be here next year. There's no doubt about it. Like, I'm going to be 100% coaching you next year.
Got to win. You have to
exactly.
Win.
So winning is huge, not only for the 2023 class, but for the portal and for the perception moving forward. So, I mean, you start off 5-0, and it could be, it could be or 4-1. It could be you could start seeing a lot of momentum. There's a lot of those balls rolling in the right direction.
Yeah, no, I think you're right. All right, coming up, let's talk a little Auburn basketball. Charlie 5 and I both share kind of the same takeaway here. Very big picture takeaway. We'll tell you in just a moment right here on Locked On Auburn. Want to encourage you to check out the Locked On Auburn Discord. It is free. All you have to do is click the link in the episode description down below. Join 1,000 Auburn fans chatting about everything happening every single day. It's a lot of fun. Just check it out. Locked On Auburn Discord. All right, Charlie 5. The Auburn basketball team wrapped up their 3-game trip in Israel. They beat the U20 national team. Then they beat the all-star select Israel national team. And then they took on the Israel national team, and they kind of let Israel kind of slipped away at the end. But the big picture takeaway, and how much do these games mean, I don't know. But it really looked like the same team as last year to me.
There was a lot of similarities. You beat up on
a lot of what?
Do what?
A lot
similarities?
Of what?
Similarities. Is that what I said? There was a lot of.
You saying simularity or
similarities?
Okay, got it.
Not like simulations, similarities.
Got it.
Whatever.
Understood.
They beat up on some young Israeli children. Then they go beat up on a little bit older Israeli children. And then we played the national team, and the competition got better just a little bit each time. And we stroked the first two teams. But there's one thing I feel like, honestly, I kind of feel like we're a little bit better inside. I really like Janai Broom.
Yeah.
He looks like an NBA player. You got Chance Westry, who can score inside. Traore looks like he's a beast. He's got moves and can score inside. So you got multiple different options that can score inside.
I think Dylan Cardwell looks better inside too.
And defensively, he seems like he's more aware.
He had a few moments where I was like, dang, okay, he's been putting some work in.
For sure. The one thing I feel like, and I talked about this in the Discord a little bit, the one thing that I'm missing, the one thing that I'm not seeing is a lot of what I saw last year. And the team that we played today was able to neutralize a little bit. I say a little bit. Johnny Broom still went off. A little bit of the inside, wall us off a little bit, so we had to take some deeper shots. We still struggle from the three. And I don't know how the FIBA three-point line relates to the college three-point line. I don't really know all the ins and outs of that.
Let's play them on the basketballs again.
Yeah, I don't know the basketball they're using, but we're still not hitting threes. And let me go ahead and say this. I think this is a tournament team. I think this is an SEC challenger. Okay? Team. They're that good. They're that good. They're going to be that good on defense. They're going to be that good in transition. But the book is out a little bit. It took the teams, over half the year to kind of figure it out last year that if you just, stop Auburn from penetrating and make them shoot threes and then not turn the ball over, you're going to be able to, sort of slow them down a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
How do we go for a full season that way? Like, they know that now. And you just watched 3 games against, overseas where we shot, I think, combined under 30% all 3 games from 3. Like, how does Bruce adjust? That to me, that's just the most critical piece. Would have loved to have a Tevin Brown. Would have loved to have somebody come in that's just a sharpshooter 3-point guy. And I'm hoping somebody steps up. I'm not sure who that's going to be in this class or on this team, on this roster, that can be that threat to help open up, because that's such a big part of Bruce's offense, is shooting threes.
Yeah, you need it in doing it in transition and doing it often and finding the hot hand. And I mean, you and I were doing the post-game show for ESPN 106.7 early last season, and it's just like there's so many guys. There's never going to be a night where everybody goes cold.
Right.
That was incorrect over the course of the season.
Yeah.
It worked for a while, and then it just never really felt like the team got better over the last 2 months of it. And Bruce Pearl teams always get better. That's just kind of their thing. They peak at the right time, and it didn't last year. And it's like we didn't know what to do. So I don't know if is it Wendell? Is it KD? Like, somebody has to become, I don't want to say Jared, but somebody has to be the kind of the guy that wants the ball when it's crunch time. And even when it was time, with that last game against the Israel national team, I kept waiting to see, okay, this is the most interesting part of the trip for me.
By far. Because
it's like, who wants the basketball? And I don't think I got that answered.
No, I mean, Janai is one that I feel like but that's, to me, that's
when you're down 8 with 6 minutes left,
you can't depend on, you can't depend on back to the goal scoring to bring you back. You got to have shooters. And I think there's a couple of guys that want to be that guy, but they're just not that guy right now.
Wendell and KD want to be that guy so bad. And I want them to be that guy. It's just, it's not quite. And I think they're close. And if you told me, the work and the development happened between now and the start of the season, in November, if that happened for one of them, I'd be like, okay, yeah, great. That could totally happen. It just hasn't happened yet.
And it's really, honestly, if you think about it, it's not really either one of their games. They both love to drive to the basket. They're small. That's what's crazy. Like, to me, they should be sit out, be fast, just pop threes. But their game is they want to drive. They want to finish, get to the line. And then Wendell had 19 points today on a NBA guard. Scored 19 points on an NBA guard, but I don't think he may have hit 1 3. I don't think I'm not even sure how many threes he actually attempted. So that's the piece I'm worried about. And they may find it. And if they do, that's going to take this team. That's going to make this team way, way tougher.
You're right.
To deal with.
You're absolutely right.
Defense, their defense is unbelievable. They were doing interviews with the Israeli guys, like the NBA guys. They're like, these guys, it's unbelievable. Like, they're all over the place. And that's the hallmark of Bruce. Janai Broom had, 4 or 5 blocks, his first double-double. I mean, they're so tough to score on. They're so aggressive. And that's what helps. To me, that's what sets Bruce's teams over everybody else, is because that makes up for so much offensive inefficiency or whatever, because they're able to create offense off their defense. But when if we get into a half-court game, what happens? Who's the guy? You know what I mean? If you get into a half-court game, I'm not sure that I'm wondering who that guy is going to be.
Have you stopped and thought about, okay, this was the best players assembled from an entire country, and
we got to within.
Yeah, Auburn had a chance. That was that was just, they had an NBA guy. I got a text after the game, how did we lose that? I'm like, I don't know. I think it's pretty crazy that we were in it to begin with. That's just an amazing thing to think about. The fact of I think we're 8th in a couple of preseason polls, but and I think some I think CBS has 15-ish, but the fact that we're a top 20-ish basketball team, I think that's pretty conservative and saying you could probably say 15. And we can go to another country and play their best players, like
back-to-back
the players
games
into the Olympics. Yeah, and in a back-to-back, and it's like, and it's close. Like that's just amazing to think about.
Hey, perspective. That's the team that will play the NBA Dream Team, whatever, All-Stars in the Olympics, in the FIBA World Basketball Champion. Like, if Auburn goes and plays in the Olympics? Like, where are we expecting to finish? You know what I mean? Because that's who we just played. We just played the Israeli Olympic basketball team. Basically, they're the best. You said it, the best players in the whole country, not subject to only college guys. And a lot of them are older because I think you're required to do military service for like 2 years outside when you finish high school. So like these dudes are well older.
Right.
It's incredible. And we had a chance. We pulled within one. We went on like a 9 or 10-0 run when we were down and turned them over multiple times in a row, just playing relentless defense.
Yeah. They just kept zooming in, the SEC Network, they had a lot of tight shots in basketball, the broadcasting side of it. Like they do a lot of tight shots of facial expressions, and, they would show the Israeli guys, and it's like, that is a grown man. Like, I'm not talking about like a big college student that plays, Division I sports. Like, no, that is literally like a grown man. That dude probably has a family with multiple children, and he's playing basketball. And so
he's got a 401k, like, maybe. I mean, it's like they're grown men. Like their guards, all their guards were like 6'6". They're all they're
and Chance Westry, like, is he 18? Like, I don't know. Like, I mean, he's a child still, a massive child, but like, and they're just kind of posting up on him like that. That was just, I don't know. I wasn't upset that they lost. I think they probably got more out of that game than the other two games combined.
If you have a 3-point shooter, you beat the Israeli national team by probably 10 points.
Yeah, there you go.
If you hit 35% of your threes, you have a threat from three, you beat the Israeli national team by 10 plus points. So where's that guy come from? Can we find that guy? Can we develop that guy? Because we need him.
Right. Charlie 5, we need you. And how can we follow along with all of your content that you're putting out?
Absolutely. Find me on Twitter at @the_Charlie_5 and the Locked On Auburn Discord every single day, auburnlive.com, the corner message board, or Monday, Wednesday, Friday on the Dad Bod Golf Pod. Just had an Auburn guy win the last Corn Ferry Tour event on Sunday. Right? Andrew Kozan. He's got a really good chance to make it to the PGA. We talk about it. He's been on the show. A lot of fun. He's going to come back on. So check it out.
That's awesome. Dad Bod Golf Pod for sure. You can check out all of my written work, auburndaily.com. And we will be back tomorrow to update you on all that practicing happening on the plains. This has been Locked On Auburn.